I'm gonna trust myself. Oh, I'm gonna love myself. I'm gonna trust myself, love myself, believe in myself like I used to. Oh.
Welcome to the 25-8 podcast live from Aikens Ford Arena in Athens, Georgia. I'm Johnny Free.
And I'm Keith Kilgore, and we're proud to bring this vision to life finally.
If this is your first time tuning in, here's what you can expect. This show is about the pivotal, life-altering moments that forge champions, leaders, and warriors. We talk to people who lived through the struggle, risen above it, and came out with something to say.
From combat zones to boardrooms, concert stages to locker rooms, we're going behind the scenes and into the heart of what it takes to become great. This isn't surface level success talk. It's about truth, breakthrough moments that define people.
We call it 25-8 because greatness doesn't happen on the clock. It happens when you go one more hour, one more day than anyone else is willing to do.
And today we're kicking things off with a great staple in the community, live from the Aikens Ford Arena.
Brad Aikens.
Yeah,
Brad Aikens. Great to be here with y'all here today.
Thank you for taking
Absolutely.
the time.
Absolutely.
You want to get it started, Keith?
Yeah, you got
Well,
one.
first of all, I just want to say this arena is beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, it is beautiful.
Well, thank you. We're really proud to be a partner of it here. Really are.
I mean, just being here at a concert a couple weeks ago, I mean, it's just amazing. Everything, all the names, how they got everything branded. I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, it's a very good thing for the community here, for sure.
Like I say, we love being a partner with it. Absolutely.
Was that the first show?
No.
Oh, okay.
They have hockey games.
They got hockey
first
games.
concert.
The first concert was the B-52s.
Sell out, I guess.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I didn't know most of the songs I knew were at the very end, but it was a
Nobody
good
invited
concert.
me to that. The big-
Didn't invite you? We missed you there.
I
My
know.
bad.
I mean, being an old man like me, we got to go to the twos, bro.
Yeah.
Bobby Keith got his first taste of varsity today.
Yeah, that place downtown Atlanta. I mean, he's like, you ever in the varsity? Like, no, I flew in this morning. He goes, we got to go there. So we went, and I will say, when we pulled in the parking lot, I was like, it's going to take forever. He said, no, they get you in and out. And they had the frosted orange drink. Incredible.
Well, you got to go to the varsity in today's world. Now, when it was really in the 70s and the 80s at the Falcons games, and now that was, what do you had a bigger meaning. What do you have had a bigger meaning there.
Okay.
You were good, but you missed the glory days there.
Well, they did say that, so I thought that was cool.
Absolutely.
They said it to everybody that came
Naked
up.
dog walking. Did you get that? Absolutely.
get
And
that
a FO frosted orange.
Yeah, that frosted
Yes,
orange
sir.
was good.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So
Yeah. Well, how's the car business?
Car business has been good.
Good.
We've got so many aspects that we work with, in the automotive part of it. Not only the sales, but the service, accessories, collision. So we've really diversified ourselves out, commercial and fleet. But we've been very fortunate. We've got just under 500 full-time employees now.
Wow.
And in various aspects of it, and so we've been very blessed, very fortunate. And very, very fortunate with the team we have. I'm just blessed and honored to work with such, a great group in all capacities that I get to work with every day. It's a pleasure and honor, and I'm the lucky one that gets to work with a great crew every day.
Wow. You guys have been in business since 1980?
No, we've in Winder, just 30 minutes west of Athens here. There's been a Ford dealer there since the late 20s.
Wow.
It's been in our family since February of '66.
Wow.
So we just celebrated our 59th anniversary as a family-owned and a family-operated business. Of course, I grew up in it. I was born in '66.
Wow.
So I was born into Ford, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
And so 1966 is when the Aikens family acquired it. My dad was selling typewriters at Rich's in downtown Atlanta.
Wow.
And his brother, Roger, actually is who bought it and then brought my dad into it, let him buy into it. And then in 1970, my dad bought him out, and Roger went and bought the Ford store in Gainesville, Georgia. So for about a decade there was Roger Aikens Ford in Gainesville, Georgia, and then Aikens Ford, which was my dad, in Winder, Georgia.
I never knew that. I grew up in Gainesville and didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, you're a little younger here there. Yeah.
Hey, I just turned 50,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time.
Yeah.
You have
Understand that. Hey,
Is
it's
for the 60th anniversary?
that's what we're looking on. We've got some plans for that. The big internal thing is what we refer to is Operation 2041. That's the year we turn 75 years old as a family owned and operated company. So, everything that we're doing, our long-term strategic planning, everything that we're doing is with the family, that's our next goal. So, we can say that we're totally committed and structured to whereas, we'll make it to that 75th anniversary. And like I've told the family, my kids and me and my wife have told them the next part after 75, that's on them. I feel like I put in my years. I'll be 75 when we turn 75.
Wow.
So that may be the time I need to officially retire. But I'm enjoying what I'm doing. Great health, great environment to work in, great employees. I've got, our family, our 4 daughters and son all work there, and they work. They're not the ones that just to show up and get a paycheck. They're expected to do a little bit more than everybody else. They love the people. They're people persons first. And so, our future is bright. I brought in a partner, almost 5 years ago now. They've been with Ford for 20 years, a little younger than me. And to bridge that gap of, you want your family to be prepared for it and be able to, you want them to have desire. But they've also got to have, not only have the willingness, but the ability. And so we brought that in and with Molly Morris, and that's been a big impact on the long-term stability of the company because it builds a bridge between the generation of my family that's, they're in their early 30s. So, with Molly being 20 years at Ford, experiencing that coming in 2020, we've got now not only the desire, we now have the structure. We have succession. So, regardless, I plan on being here, but regardless of what I choose or what happens to me, the company's future is bright and the company's future is secure. So that was something that we really felt was important, with the employees, with the community, and with customers. So we can, not only say we plan on being there, we now have a plan. And the plan is, being executed every day to do that. So I'm really excited about that as a second generation because I took over when I was 23. My dad passed away. 23 is too young to take over a business, even though it was a lot smaller then. We still, it was a business, and we had just moved into the first phase of the facility we're in now. Not to get off on that, but just since you asked, we went from a building that had been modified from 65 to 88 of about 18,000 square feet. And my dad bought 50 acres next to us and built an 80,000 square foot building.
Wow.
And so we were dirt rich, we were debt rich, and we were cash poor.
Yeah, I know.
And then he got diagnosed with leukemia and subsequently passed away the next year. So I got left with a great opportunity. Looking back then, it wasn't the funnest to dig yourself out of a hole, deal with the IRS for years and for 5 years really, and not knowing that you were broke, but you were just working literally not my paycheck to paycheck, but making sure we can make everybody else's paycheck, and we never missed a payroll. And so I'm glad I went through that because you learn how to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you got to learn how to survive before you learn how to thrive.
Yes. How it is. So going back, when did you start working at the dealership? And what gave you the drive to be able to accomplish what you did when your dad passed away?
I grew up, my parents both grew up on farms. I grew up on a farm. We had cattle. So chores before school, all that stuff, that was just something that was just a natural thing. But, I loved cars, I guess, from being around it. So the summer when I was 7 before I turned 8 is when Dad let me go in and wash cars. Now, he told me I started contributing when I was 12. That from 8 to 11, it was pretty much you showed up and made a mess or emptied the trash, but if I wasn't in school playing sports, I was at work, and that's what I did. And then, 12, I started working in service with technicians and working on cars, and you just develop a love of cars and a love of people. And so I felt very confidently that was what I wanted to do.
That's pretty awesome right there.
Yeah, man.
So what?
I mean, it was almost, now, don't get me wrong. My dad was like passionate about, me or my brother or both of us, being in it. It was like, it wasn't an option. But I ended up loving it. My brother worked there, we grew up in it. But he's an outdoorsman. He's a charter fisherman in Florida, a very successful one. So he's getting paid to fish, and I'm in the car business. So I'm not sure which one took the right path there. But, he's great at what he does and has built just an unbelievable brand in that business out of Swanee, Florida. And, we're closer than we've ever been. And we get to taunt each other a lot. And but he got out in the early 90s, came back and worked with me for a few years in our record and rollback business doing the assembly there. So he came back and worked with me for 10 years. I guess the mid 2000s for about 10 years. So he, like he said, he retired at, in like 92 for about 15 years, came back, worked with me for 10 years, and then retired again and went back to getting paid to fish. So, but my passion, I loved it. I, started helping ordering cars when I was a senior in high school, and just, thought I wanted to go to college. I am a 4-day graduate of the University of Georgia. I started on a Monday and I withdrew on a Thursday. So, I just felt like I was going to end up in the same spot, which ended up being a blessing, cause that was in 84. And then in 89, my dad got diagnosed with leukemia and then passed away the following February when I was 23. So, I had 5 years of car college.
Yeah.
But I did work parts, service, body shop, washing cars, detailing cars, ordering cars, selling cars, finance. So fortunately I had gone through the car college of all the departments. So I understood, more of what we were doing. And we had a really good tenured staff in 1990 when he passed away too. So, while there were doubts, not only with me, but with everybody else, there was also a desire to make this work. And we took the bumps and the bruises and made it through it.
Mm-hmm. And so that was the pivotal moment then. So whenever you decided that you go to college for 4 days, that was the pivotal moment. You knew this is what you're going to do for the rest of your life. I guess.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
I don't know if I went to college because I wanted to go to college or because I went to college because, I'd been to Athens, and you went to, in the late 80s in high school, maybe we shouldn't have been, but on Friday night, after the football game, after the high school football game, you left to come to Athens at like 11:30.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know those.
So that was a thing, and the drinking age was 18,
Mm-hmm.
so you could be a senior in high school and go to bars. So you could go to a football game, leave there, and literally arrive in Athens at 11:30, and you had a few hours to go. So, but I outgrew that real quick because I had to work on Saturdays after I got out of high schoul. So there wasn't, my Saturdays got cut a little bit shorter then.
But it gives you a drive though, because I know when I was in the Army, and I would go out 5 o'clock next morning on Saturday morning. I was at work.
Oh yeah.
So it trained me to this day. I mean, I watch these kids nowadays and they lay in the bed and everything. Now I go to bed at 12 o'clock at night and I'm back up 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm go.
I get up and go. That was what I grew up in. You had barn chores before school started. We raised horses growing up, had cattle, and that was just, you had something to do.
Yeah.
You didn't come home from school and play video games and stuff. You did stuff.
That's
that
right.
was just, you had chores, you had cattle, and that you worked. That was just what I grew up in, was an era of work. And if you want to do something, you planned it.
Mm-hmm.
You had buddies come over at certain nights and different things, and who shot JR, that thing. My dad had all that stuff over. There was no video recorders and stuff, and you had to be at a certain time. There wasn't, the phones and everything, the computers. You actually talked to people and planned. You left the front light on, the front light off. The front light on, somebody's going to pull up. So I'm glad I got to live through that eras, and I talked to my kids and stuff about it. But it's just you don't understand it unless you lived it.
No, and I'm the same way, man. I was telling my kids, we didn't have phone. We didn't have the way we knew how to come home with somebody standing on the front porch and yell in the trailer park and say, "It's time to come home."
Yeah.
You had the party lines. You'd pick up, oh, how much longer are you going to be able to hang it up? You'd have the party lines, Yeah. To save money. Yeah.
So you said you brought a business partner in 4 or 5 years ago, right?
Yeah. October of 20, yes. Uh-huh.
Okay, so but back up 5 years from now, COVID happened.
Mhm.
None of us in our lifetime ever seen anything like that.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
When it happened in that day, the NBA shut down.
Mhm.
The world pretty much shut down.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think? Or did you think like in the car business? Because I'm in the music business.
Mm-hmm.
How was it? Like, could you still operate business wise, or did everything?
We were fortunate, both being in the state of Georgia
Mhm.
and the business being in Barrett County, that the local leadership and the state leadership, want to be responsible, but also they didn't, they wanted to stay open.
That's good. Okay.
And
So y'all didn't have to close.
no, we didn't have to close,
good.
but we had to plan.
Mm.
And I think going back through, just growing up in the car business, even when we moved into where we are now, we've got, close to 75 acres now. So we've accumulated some additional acreage. But remember what I said earlier, we bought the property that we moved into 50 something acres from 4 acres.
Yeah.
We didn't develop all of it, but we had an 18,000 square foot building of parts, service, and sales to an 80,000 square foot building, parts, service, and sales. We had a $600 light bill. Now we had a $5,000 light bill and all of that. So, the year and a half before, leading up to that, my dad was mostly involved in helping build a building. So it was a lot of day-to-day stuff that I just evolved me to take over. So I think one of the things that prepared me for that was some of the things I went through. We went through the first big crisis was my dad's leukemia, his untimely death. I'm 23 years old and I've got, close to 100 employees kind of turning and looking at me like, what are you going to do? So I had to show confidence. I had to show confidence I can do this. And the times when I doubted myself, I couldn't show it.
Big thanks to Aikens Ford, where power, performance, and reliability meet.
Whether you're hitting the road for work, play, or the next big move, Aikens keeps you riding 25/8.
Georgia strong, built to last. All right, guys, welcome back. We have some technical difficulties live here at Aikens Ford Arena. They're getting ready for a show they have upcoming, so we let them make their noise, and now we'll try to finish.
We're used to it with these tour manager people like you.
Yeah.
You never on
Well, no, we have a schedule that says, hey, you can make noise
I
from
ain't
this
never
time to
seen
this
you on no
time.
schedule, Bobby.
That's it.
1 minute you say call me at this time, next day I call you. Oh, I'm still working.
Yeah. Well, that's
The schedules are just adaptable moments in time, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They're just something for your workers to go by.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So, yeah.
But anyway, back to what we were talking about
About
how
COVID and all,
we became over COVID.
Yeah. Well, one of the things with me growing up was it was always like failure's not an option. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And that's one of the things when my dad passed away. Really the first crisis after I got through that, you had, some of the economic stuff of the 90s, stuff, but when 9/11 hit, that was, a pivotal moment in the history of our country. What's going to happen, the uncertainty. And I think that was, since my dad had passed, that was the first time that, the thing I had to be every day was confident. I had to make sure you get as much information as I could so I could share accurately, but I could also share confidently that don't know what it's going to be, we're going to be okay. And there was some things that we went through that. Then 2008, the collapse of 2008, of, the economic uncertainty, of most every industry, what's going to happen to that. And those were tough. Those were some really tough times, especially economically in 2008 when we got through that. And so I think just in any type of, when you assume the role of leadership, there's a certain point where you've always got to be prepared for something. And the something could be, an employee having a wreck on the way to work that doesn't survive. Mm-hmm. So there's always something. Some are bigger than others. So I think in any leadership thing, you've always got to be prepared for something, to whereas there's a path of confidence. And when that happened, the biggest thing was the fear of, am I going to get sick? Am I going to get somebody else this sick? And so we split the company. So the first thing we did was just communicate, in a way that, this is what we know, this is what we don't know. And I was very fortunate to have some connections in the medical field, so I could get some facts. Ford put together a really good program to get dealers facts out, so we could talk intelligently about it. And the biggest thing with our company that we did was, how do we not close to provide the services that are still needed to the community? How can we be respectful of everybody's families, to whereas, what do we need to do to whereas when you come to work at the end of the day, you don't feel like you have given anybody anything or you have contracted anybody from anybody, both your coworkers. And so we put together a plan that we let everybody buy into, by department and by the geographic area, the dealership, because, service is different than sales, accounting is different. Let everybody buy into a process that they felt safe. And we kept a really good documentary of that. We got pictures, we got notes that are about, probably 6 inches thick, meetings in the parking lots and stuff like that. And we cut the company into 3 different independent companies for a few weeks, so we could work 2 days each till we got some certainty of what. And time we got to the end of April was a little bit of do's and don'ts. And time we got to May, we were functioning at about 80%. Automotive industry started putting some incentives out there for COVID and stuff. And so, things had, began to pick back up within the automotive sector and with us as well. So we were able to function, geographically with our customers and employees, to where we focused on them feeling safe and feeling like we could provide facts that we were given of what is and what isn't, even though there was a lot of uncertainty. And it's like everything, you evaluate, you adapt, you overcome, and just leave failure on the side. Now, overall failure doesn't mean it doesn't have little bitty increments of failure that you overcome. But I think that's just something that I learned growing up from my dad, seeing him through the oil embargoes of the 70s and some of those crises. And, my mom driving a red manual, no air Fiesta, when the gas was critical. You didn't drive the farm truck. You drove a little Fiesta that got 40 miles an hour in July, and you rolled the windows down because it was red with black vinyl, That's just what I grew up in, was an environment of you succeed by not failing, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. So then, so going back to 1990, is it 1990, right?
Mm-hmm.
When your dad passed away. So I got a 2-point question here. So then, did you continue your dad's vision, or did you have a new vision? And then what did those first 5 years look like after that?
That was one thing I struggled with. You had a vision of not failing, which was first and foremost, but you also had to, create business also. So the first couple of years I spent copying people. I had newspaper prescriptions from all over the country. What do they do here? What do they do here? And the thing that I had not learned in the 80s, that my dad, that, he didn't really, when it come to financial stuff, he was very private. So the actual financial part of the leadership was the one thing I'd never done. Never saw a statement, didn't understand profit and losses, didn't understand cash flows. I understood all the aspects within every department, but how you put them together, I didn't know. I had some dealer friends of my dad's help me with that. And for 2 years, we basically failed from a standpoint of financially, not necessarily from a business standpoint. We were making payroll, service was fairly busy, sales had kind of recovered a little bit, but, I didn't know how to be profitable. And I spent 2 years copying everybody. And through failure, I started trying to figure out, what are people not doing? What do they sell that you can't? So I had a crossroads there, to whereas if I got to make it, what I'm doing ain't working. We're doing business, but we're not sustainable.
Yeah.
And I started focusing on I'm trying to do what everybody else is doing. I'm trying to sell what everybody else is doing. What are other people not doing? So I literally would get a driver, drive to Atlanta, go around 285, and I'd sit in the passenger seat and I'd just look. And one of the things you notice was trucks with bodies on them, that the body companies back in the 70s and 80s, even though we did some, really controlled the retail business to the customers. So I'm like, well, and you grab dealers' lots, nobody was stocking them. So we took a change of approach and really focused on small businesses, both in sales, what do they need when they need service. If it's a company that's got 1, 2, 3 trucks, if a truck's down, they're screwed. So we put in a loaner program and really did some of the things we couldn't afford. And it was one of those things, I'm either going to succeed on my own terms or I'm going to fail on my own terms. And we kind of went that route. And, if you got a small business, you may have a company truck in the yard, but you've also got a personal car in the driveway too. Mm-hmm. So we kind of took an approach on small businesses. And it worked. They were looking for relationships. They were looking for service after the sale. They were looking for, hey, my van's in the shop, but I got a crew that needs to go work on air conditionings, and we have a loaner. So we moved some of our advertising money over to that. Didn't have many. We had some used ones, but we had a loaner, and we kind of put that in officially in 91, especially 92, and just really focused on what other people weren't doing. And that's where we kind of found a niche that we grew from. And then over the years, we acquired Chrysler in 81. So the 80s minivans paid a lot of bills.
Yeah.
And minivans and K cars, they paid more bills than Ford trucks did in the 80s a lot of times.
Yeah.
But I learned then to be different. I learned then to fail differently, and you'll usually find the different successes. But, try to figure out the successes first. But that's where I learned, like, I can't do what everybody else is doing. I can learn from them. I can try to take a good idea and make it better. But from a business standpoint, it was like, how do we differentiate ourselves with our employees first? And that was one thing my dad had always done a pretty good job of hiring really good talent and retaining them. Like he said, pay everybody a little bit too much money, keep them between the ditches and get out of their way.
Yeah.
And that was something that I had a foundation on. I just didn't know how to use them. And so is, me trying to copy the 80s, copy other dealers, and it wasn't working. So that's really what we went over here and try to put small business first. And then we get the repeats, the referrals, the personal vehicles and everything. Rather than trying to be personal vehicles first and commercial second, we kind of went to small business. We've got companies that buy, hundreds of vehicles from us a year. But, we've got tons that buy 1, 2, 3, 10 from us a year. And we can, provide it, in stock sales and get really trying to differentiate us. And we've been very fortunate right now, in retail and commercial volume year to date, we're sitting number 1 in the country. Mm-hmm. Last year we finished up number 2.
Wow.
And so as Kirby sent me, Kirby sent me a little video reminding me that nobody remembers who number 2 is. Mm-hmm. That 2's good, but he expects 1. So we're sitting right now on number 1 year to date in retail and commercial sales with Ford nationally. We're competing with dealerships in Los Angeles, Detroit, Tampa, Texas. So we're, Winder, Georgia's grown a lot, but it's still not a big metropolitan. But regionally like Athens, we have a great customer group here. And you look at 30 to 45 minutes around the dealership, there's a lot of people, mm-hmm. a lot of opportunity. And we have over, 59 years been very blessed with a customer base that's just incredible, second to none.
And that business has been a big customer base because, even to this day, there's so many businesses in this state and outside the state that still, and then Aikens is
and then after 08, we were looking for additional sources of revenue, and we really looked at accessories hard. People are personalizing and customizing their vehicles, and we think we can do a great job with that. We think we can do a better job with that because we can bring in the depth of scale that the leadership allows us to do from technology and resources rather than just an independent, shop. And bring in, some of your basics of accessories, but let's go beyond that of some of the modifications, the personalization, the custom paints that we do. And that really began to grow 2011 and 12. And then we have, brought on the marketing aspect of it that we did. It's like we got to have a personality. Mm-hmm. And while I do our radio ads, I do our TV ads, I don't have time to be that personality. Yep. And I don't think I was that personality. And so we worked on that for a little while. We brought in Neil, who mm-hmm. and we evolved that, with the company working together, with him and evolved into some of the crazy things that he does, which is really cool. But he's exposing the brand, who we are, what we stand behind, not only, regionally, but nationally. And we stand behind what we do. We, had a small little issue of a customer in Idaho, but couldn't find anybody out there to do it. So, we flew somebody out there. That's what we'll do. I can do that with the scale of the dealership part of it. But if I'm an independent accessory shop, I can't afford to spend a few $1,000s to send somebody to Idaho for a few days, take care of a warranty issue within the customization of what we had done. They can't afford to do that. And it's not their fault. That's just not who they are. Where we, in a scale of selling, 12, 13,000 vehicles a year, servicing, we repair orders and stuff between the service, body shop, and accessories, we'll do over 100,000 repair orders in a year.
Wow.
So, we're, right at 9,000 a month. So we can take and reach out to somebody, whether they live 5 miles down the road or if they live, in Idaho, or, we've got some customers, in Washington State, because some of the things we're doing, with our customization, I think is cutting edge. And while other people can do, the things that we're doing and stuff, I think the brand of the quality we take into it up front, the people we've got, they really want to listen to people and do what they want, but not let them get out in left field and have them something of what they do and create a good experience there up front, honest, and then we can do, take your vehicle and customize it, or somebody looking at one, we can do the, upfit in-house, sell the truck in-house, and us do it together in totality and save the customer money. Where they're not buying the truck, okay, the dealer's got to make this much money on the truck, they got to make this much money on accessories. We can do everything in totality, be a one-stop shop, and ship all over the country, and that's what we're doing.
Hey,
That's really cool.
I got one of those.
I've seen somebody else work, and I drive a Ford now, and I promise you, the next one I buy will be from you.
Yeah, we might have to get a little Wild Willies in there and separate you out there.
And so, while we're talking about Fords, like he drives a Ford.
Yeah.
Obviously, you drive them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favorite? Feature that they do that no one else does? If I had to say, mine would be the panoramic sunroof, because they were the first one to do it.
So mine will, as simple as mine is. So I'm not a sunroof guy.
Okay.
I think I'm a T-top guy.
Okay.
If I could get T-tops in my F-350, I'm in. And I'm a T. That's too many airbags now, but I'm that T-top Mustang. Take them off. I know it's going to drip and leak a little bit, but that's just what T-tops are. But I think probably the one thing I like the most, I live on a farm. And I've got cattle, but is me being able to take a platinum F-350 and delete the carpet. Then maybe I got a rubber floor mat. So I got a platinum truck. I got the massaging seats. I got everything in it, but I can take a water hose and wash it out. Yeah. So as simple as that may seem, that's probably my favorite part of the Fords, and to my knowledge, other brands don't make you do that. But when we've got Ram trucks also, we've got Jeep, love them. We've got Chrysler, which only has a minivan now, and Dodge. And we love those brands too. But we picked that up in 81. We picked up Jeep in 96. But I was born into Ford, and no, I bleed Ford blue. That's just the way it is. We've got aspirations of the platform we now have. Looking forward to that 75th anniversary in 2041. We hope to have an additional brand soon into the family in a not in Winder, but in a northeast proximity there. So stay tuned there. We look forward to in the upcoming months bringing another brand on board and another locality that really fits into our 2041 vision on that. And that was something, on the vision, not to get off, but I had to make a decision back in like 2017, 18, and 19, really when I turned 50, it's when it's like, what does the future hold? And, am I just going to live off in a hope and a prayer that, part of the family or somebody would be willing to and able to but that wasn't for certain. Do they want to and are they able to? And that's when I really started looking at, is either time for me to get out or either time for me to plan about the future. Because up until then, it's been me, myself, and I since my dad passed away, since 1990. And there was some really soul searching of what to do. And really in 2019 was like, I'm in, the family's in, but now let's figure out a succession plan and a bridge between me and my kids. Hopefully if I live for a long time, but what if I don't? What if I do? What if I don't? Let's let the family make the decision. And that's where I really made the decision 2019. I'm all in. And then started strategizing, planning what it looked like, who is it. And I'm very fortunate that we were able to put together that succession plan. On that, bring Molly Morris in with Ford, who had been our rep 10 of her 20 years there. So she was part of it. She birthed three. She got married being a rep. She went through 3 pregnancies and births of her 3 sons, and so she was already part of it. And it was just a great time for her to look at something else in a career after 20 years with Ford. And it's been a great fit for the company, for the community, for our family, and for our future.
Wow.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. I'm excited to see. I just hope that 75th anniversary that you can retire.
Absolutely. That may be when I announce it. It's like, I'm here today. I'm gonna come by and get free ice cream and coffee, but y'all can make the decisions there. So
Yes,
but if I'm living and breathing, I'm gonna be in it in some capacity. But
Oh yeah.
but I do have the flexibility to do things. I mean, I do work a lot. I wake up and I go to work. That's what you do. That's you wake up, you get dressed, you go to work. So I'll always do that in some capacity, but I'm really working hard to be able to, after 41, worked there 41 years full time this June. So I start my 42nd year full time. And as you know, on your own entrepreneurship, it's not 42 years of 9 to 5.
No.
It's a lot of hours. You take it home with you. You work at night when the kids have gone to bed and stuff to do stuff. So it's a sacrifice.
I always think it's from 4 a.m. to 11:59, and try to sleep a little bit.
That's it. I'm 5.5 to 6 hours now in most cases, but I've been 4 to 5 hours most of my life.
Yeah, I know a lot of people.
Even in high school, that was and it was usually 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. is my work zone. I can get up, I can think, I can strategize. That's
Nobody's bothering you.
That's when I can really think about strategy and vision. It's
Most
between
people
2 and 4 a.m.
Yeah. I mean, most people that have a successful business that I know, they hate to sleep because they don't.
You feel like I could be accomplishing something.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
But the last 35 years have been multiple journeys of multiple things of after my dad passed away, I mentioned in 90 that pivotal part, let's do this, but there was also the part of, I had grown up in it, my dad passed away, and it was like, I want to do something different. Mm-hmm. And so while I was working on the dealership part of it, I kind of went off through a course of events. That's another story of how I got into NASCAR, but I actually got into NASCAR, had a team for 12 years to get out of the car business.
Wow.
I kind of looked at the Rick Hendricks. He had a car dealership. That's where he started. He was successful. So through some chance meetings of some people, the Allison family, and I got really intrigued by that and was able to pick up sponsorship in 93 and 94, first with Country Time Lemonade and Bobby Hamilton, and then along with Ford Credit and Elton Sawyer, Casey Kane, and a bunch of different drivers in between there. And that was what I wanted to do. And I pursued that heavily through about 2000, and then realized that wasn't my course to do, wound down my sponsorship and got out in 04.
But you had a Ford car, right?
Well, I had Ford for the most part. The last year I was in it, we did switch to Dodge.
Okay.
So we ran Dodges. And then back in the late 90s, there was some issues I had with I guess you could say Ford Racing. And out of spite, I took a Chevrolet to Talladega and didn't tell anybody, rolled off the truck and put a Chevrolet on the grid. So, and the worst part about it, we blew an engine like 10 laps into the race. So, but it was like, okay, I've learned my lesson here. But it ended up being good. But yeah, I rolled a Chevrolet off just to spite a few people with Ford back then.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
So, but that's water over the bridge there.
Yes,
So, yeah.
Speaking of the Mustangs, well, there's any older vehicle. Because my goal in life, what drives me is I want a 54 Ford.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm on a mission. That's what I want.
There you go. I'm that late 70s to early 80s. That's what I
Yeah.
learned how to drive on the farm. You're 12, 13
Yeah.
years old. That's my little niche. I've got a few 79 model Broncos, 79 crew cab. I got an 84 Mustang T-top, of course,
Wow.
and 64 model convertible and a 66 F-250. So that's kind of my little hobby cars there. They're nothing of any special VIN numbers that are like, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I want to go drive them. I don't drive them enough, but I've got a couple of really nice old Broncos though. Those are my favorites.
So how long have you been? You're on Ford's board of directors, right?
I've been on Ford Dealer Council. I'm on a Ford advertising board. Right now, I've been on for about 20 years.
Wow.
I've chaired it for a few years. Most recently, 6 of the last 7 years. And I rolled off as chairman this past year. So been on various committees over, especially going back into late 90s, early 2000s. It's when I was on some product committees, Dealer Council, just a lot of various things around on that.
And then going back to Wild Willy's, when did you guys start Wild Willy's?
We acquired Wild Willy's in 2010. Jim Jordan, who had originally owned it, founded it in 95 in Conyers.
Okay.
And we actually did business with him,
Okay.
because we did some accessories, we did bed liners and stuff like that, did some tires and wheels, but really when you got into doing lifts and stuff, I tried to run it through service a few times and it just didn't work. So we subbed out to him and had a really good relationship. And after 2008, you're looking for revenue.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to change this. And I went to him. And it's like, look, I know we've been doing business, but I'm going to bring this in house. He's like, look, why don't I just come to work for you? Because 2008 wasn't good for him either.
Yeah.
And so I hired him, and he had one employee left, and hired his one employee, Johnny, and brought it in. And the first couple of years was tough because, he had been independently successful as an accessory dealer. You went there to get accessories. And, we got the dealership over here, and the first couple of years, how to blend it in, not just a customer walking in the door, but just in sales, getting them to accept it. We learned from a lot of failure. And then little by little, we learned a little bit more how to implement it in sales, how to buy them into it, how to really get a build. And we felt like in 2012, 13, that we had done something pretty good, but then it's like, what's next? And that's when we really started to focus on some personalization and really brought it into play in about 19 and 20, where we really started to put that in. COVID set us back a little bit, but then that actually propelled us forward with some of the things that happened then on the positive side of automotive as you went into 21 and 22. And we were able to capitalize on what we had built the last 5 years. And so we had built it internally. It could function at a high level. It was bought in by sales. We moved the technicians into a different building so it didn't compete with service. It could complement service. And it really, really took off when we did all those things. But it was 7 or 8, it was 2 years of like more failures than success. About 5 years of, okay, we're above average, but it's not great, but it's working pretty good. Then we were beginning to refine it. And really the last 5 years have really hit a stride, both in the functionality and the efficiency within the dealership, taking the dealership that you can share expenses with and grow with minimal expense, so we can really bring great products through accessories to the market, have great pricing and great experiences. And so we were ready for that. But but you look at 2010, we brought it in, it was a decade. We went from surviving to being somewhat successful. It was a decade till I really felt like the curve of thriving was really in place. And it took that 10-year journey to really be prepared to be able to thrive, really.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have a favorite vehicle that y'all have done, like somebody that sticks out or somebody's that?
Boy, that's a tough
He
one.
better
There's
say,
so
AJ Styles.
he's got an awesome vehicle there.
Y'all done
There is so many. That's the thing. You had a few favorites here and there, and there's so many. Some of the probably one of the coolest one of a customer. And I can't remember his name. He at a trucking company out of the Carolinas, and he loved the custom painting on his rigs, and we did one to match his semi.
Oh wow, that's cool.
The burgundy with the tan, did the custom painting off of his and he put on a trailer taking it out. And that was, for them to match, just probably one of my most memorables of just because of what he wanted and how we custom something to match what he already had customs. That's really cool when you can do that. But there's so many, there's so many like that we've done over, locally and over the company that are just cool. But I think that one, as far as emotionally, somebody really wanted this special thing, and we were able to provide that to him, was really cool. It was really cool.
Yeah, Brantley's truck was pretty cool too.
Yeah, it is.
That
yeah.
Roush and all that.
Yep, that it is too. Yeah,
that was really nice. And
so it's really neat when you take a vision of somebody that they really they know what they want, and trying to describe it, and us trying to interpret it. It's almost like a language.
Yes.
And, sometimes you have to switch some people to a different person because they're getting along, but they're talking this person. Hey, is he trying to say that? So our team does a really good job of not being selfish and working together and having conversations with these clients that really want something, high end and special and unique, of bringing those dreams together. And that's probably the coolest aspect of it.
Yeah,
taking that interpretation and bringing it to reality, and it actually being right, through that interpretation. That's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, those people are in their head. They're like, they're not an artist. They know what they want, and then for y'all to have the artist bring it to life.
Absolutely,
I think that's awesome.
And we bring that into the commercial aspect of it, from upfitting vans, racks and bins, ladder racks, decaling the company decals. We can, hey, I need a truck, I need this body, but I need these extra things on it, and we can do that right in-house and get it ready to go. Yep. So, maybe light bars, it may be a police car upfitting. It's any of that stuff we work to be able to handle it in totality, so we can handle the quality and we can handle the warranty. That's what I tell people. Well, does factory warranty cover this, or is it not? It's like, hey, we do it both, because we've got the dealership aspect of it also. If there's a finger pointing, I'm in the middle. So we're going to figure it out.
That's right.
And I think that's one of the beauties of having a dealer behind the brand, and having that same entity be behind the personalization, the customization of whether it be in commercial, safety, and from lights, strobe lights and stuff, to 6-figure lifts and stuff. We can stand behind it from both aspects of it, and we got to figure it out. It's not like, well, they did this lift, they did that. And with the technology, I think that's where we really thrive, because we figure some of it out. Because you put a lift kit on it, you got 360 cameras, you got to reprogram it. You got all these sensors and stuff that you really got to be careful of to put together in that, because these things are computers on wheels. So I think that's one area that we do a pretty good job of thriving, because we understand the factory aspect of it, and where things can function like they're supposed to.
Great thing about being at the Aikens Arena, and sitting here watching all these custom trucks that they're making. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, the F450.
Yeah, it is.
That color on that thing.
So it's a thing that, when I guess accepted the role that, when my dad passed away, there's a responsibility that if you're genuine at what you do, of the employees that are looking for a secure place to work, an environment, a culture that is as we really try to do, biblically centered on the things that we do, to put that into our decisions and everything. Are we perfect? No. Given the opportunity to fix something, we usually can. But trying to work with our employees, they can grow. And we've got so many examples of people that started off portering or cleaning the building, washing cars or whatever, that are in, really in leadership positions in management and various things. And that generational part of people that you've watched them grow professionally, personally, see them get married, see them have kids. And that's something that money can't buy.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
That is really near and dear to our hearts too.
Well, I'll tell you something cool. When I was coming to the airport today to get Bobby keys, I looked over and his Atlanta police car, and on the back of it's Aikens Ford tag. And I was like, that's a pretty good sign right there. But I'm so impressed with you as a business person. You have it's just unreal.
Well, like I said, I'm fortunate to have a really good team to work with, but I do try to provide the vision, make the hard decisions. And that's where I think that I learned early on. This was something I got from my dad and others, and looking at successful people. Successful people make wrong decisions.
Oh, yeah.
But they make a decision.
Yep.
And so many fail because they don't make the decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And when faced with multiple decisions, you don't know which one to do, pick the hardest.
Yep.
It's usually right. But I think that's where the difference of people giving themselves the opportunity to succeed is making them make a decision. Now, you've got to do it to whereas it's going to affect people sometime, but you can still do that in a respectful way. But you got to humble yourself as a leader to be willing to not only do the things other people have done, but fortunately, the path I've had, I have done what most of them have done. Some of it, I was 15 years old. I started helping do warranty tickets in middle school, in the 7th grade. What was I, 12 then, So I have done all of those things, and I think it helps me have a perspective. But technicians today, with what they have to know, I can't work on them anymore.
No.
I can raise the hood of, my 70s vehicles and think I can remember how to work on them, but there ain't a whole lot I can remember. I can remember what I did. I don't remember how I did it.
Oh, yeah.
I can't. I used to could set timing on the vehicle. I think I could still get my timing light out and do this, turn the distributor a little bit. I think I could.
Yeah.
But, it's been years since I've done that. But leadership is a burden too. I mean, you carry it with you 24 hours a day.
Yes.
And it's a choice. Like I tell people, you're either a leader of people or you're not. Forget the leadership part, forget the business part. If you're going to be outside a singular business, then you're a leader of people. And you're either an A or an F, and then really, really discipline yourself to your weaknesses. Because there's a lot of great leaders that aren't naturally great leaders. And there's a lot of naturally great leaders that are bad leaders.
That's right.
You really got to know what your weaknesses are and coach yourself to work on your weaknesses. Because, you've got, the things you all are doing and stuff, but it all isn't just like gung-ho.
No.
If we could just do the gung-ho stuff, that'd be fun.
Yes.
But there's the stuff, I like this here and there, but crap, I got to do this other stuff. Well, this other stuff allows you to do the stuff that you really like.
Yes, sir.
And you got to you got to take it all. It's kind of an all or nothing game.
I know
in entrepreneurship.
I know from a business, as impressed as I am with you as a business person, I'm more impressed with you with your leadership on what you do with charity in the community and how involved you are in the community. If you can talk about some of the things like just being a part of what I've seen you do is just amazing. I mean, what you guys have helped out with, but just to make an example, like when the school shooting happened, you guys were right there on the spot helping that community.
We were, and that was one thing. Going back to my dad, he loved youth. He loved anything with the youth, the schools, and everything. And look, me and my dad didn't get along more than we did get along. I think that's because he was hard-headed, I was hard-headed, but I learned a lot from him.
Yep.
And giving back was very important to him, either in time, cooking barbecue overnight at Little League, raising money. I cooked a lot of Harrison poultry chicken that was donated to the Winder Little League. That you cook 1,000 chicken halves overnight and do that. But no, my family, me and my wife Vanessa, she's very involved in several not-for-profits. And you don't do it because I want to leave something. You do it because you're supposed to.
Yes.
We are called to give. Some of that's monetarily, some of it's of time, some of it's advice. And we've got a lot of employees that give, that have time, that volunteer, they're involved in that. So, that is a big part of our business plan, is the philanthropic approach that we make. Some sponsorships, you got little leagues, you've got schools, there's 40 plus schools that we've got partnerships with. It's hard to go to a football game and from Atlanta north to northeast Georgia coming, it's hard to go to a football game or a basketball game or a baseball game and not see an Aikens Ford billboard out on the fences.
Yep.
Because we've got so many customer bases and stuff there. So I think there's like 48 different schools that we're in, and then we've got partnerships with them. But so we're going to do that. But the thing that we really want to do is work with organizations that have impactful sustainability. That's where it is. And then we want to be part of that sustainability. Some of it may be initially of a project that we're in at a little bit different level, and then we tear it down because we want it to be sustainable with everybody else being involved in it, and then can help over here. And we look at that each year based upon our business and what we're doing, that we want to give back. And with, our family, with my wife, Vanessa, that's a big passion of hers as well. And we can get into all the different things that we work with, but, we want to be involved with organizations that have impactful sustainability, and be partners with them in different levels as we go, so we can move from one to the other, still be a little bit apart here, but move over here to a bigger level. And that's part of when you put a sustainable business model together. You got to reinvest in your people. You got to reinvest in your facilities. You got to reinvest in your communities. And so it's hard. I mean, a sustainable business plan it ain't the easiest thing to do. A lot of people think you just turn the lights on and have a sign in your window, hey, they're making money. Well, that's not the case. And so learning that business model that is sustainable, is really hard. That's the biggest thing, I think, that is not a struggle, but you have to plan it. It doesn't happen by chance.
That's right.
And so when we take all those aspects of it and focus on all of them and make sure we're successful in all those areas, the connections you make, the engagement you make with your employees in these organizations that we're working with, a lot of them are already involved in them. It helps create the culture and environment internally of philanthropic, with our employees first, then it works with the business first. You've got to be sustainable. We want to care and love and support our employees. We want to care and love and support our communities, and then care and love the organizations that we partner with. That is it sounds simple. It's a big term, but that's a simple part of it. And you're either committed to it or you're not.
Yes, sir.
That's the thing. And we call it A and F. We're looking at things here and there. If it's not an A, then it's an F.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now we still got to get B's up to A's and stuff there. We try to make our F's not so bad, but that's really kind of what we work on. And you'll hear it around, and you'll hear employees and my family. So we use that terminology a lot.
So how did now getting back, we're coming all the way back around now. So how did the name on the arena and Wild Willies and everything get involved here?
Oh man, that could be a story in itself. I think, Paul Kramer, I call him the classic center himself. Very good friend of mine. When this came up in conversations, a decade ago, I guess. You've never thought about being a part of it and stuff. And then really the last couple of years, looking at it from the regional reach, not only just Athens, but my employees that live, I got employees that live in Athens, Gwinnett, Walton, all around. I think we've got 13 counties we've got employees in. And looking at what impact this could have, on the Northeast Georgia area, of the quality, the fun, the fellowship, the family aspect of it, that was something that was intriguing. How do we be a part of it? And we worked on it, really seriously informally a year, really deep dive, 6 months, 7 months before we announced it. And, little by little, we had to take it from an expense to an investment. And, besides just the branding, it's cool to walk in a place and you got your name on it. And, if I said it wasn't, everybody thinks that. If your name's on it, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But we had to be, an investment within the company, from our marketing, from our branding, not only with our employee experiences, because I can buy tickets, but how do we take this and brand this in this partnership to bring something to Northeast Georgia, really, the Athens area and surrounding areas, but really Northeast Georgia, where a huge part of our customer base is. How do we do that? Our marketing team was engaged in it. A lot of people that work on how do we do this, and little by little, you could just start seeing this of us being a perfect partner. We're engaging in the community. We're going to use it a lot for our employees and our customers. It's just been here. It's only been open 4 months. That's what some people forget. It opened in mid-December, and here we are mid-April.
Mm-hmm.
So we really only 4 months into this thing, and we've got a 10-year agreement with them. So we're really pumped about this next hockey season and everything, because we're just starting to learn how to use it ourselves. But really, when you look at the digital value, the search value, everybody looks, the new website that's coming. When you come here and you want tickets, you want anything, you're going to Aikens Ford Arena. So your first 2 words are Aikens Ford.
Yes, sir.
So we want to be on people's mind. We want to be deserving of an opportunity to sell and service people's vehicles, personalize them, what they wreck it, need an oil change, mobile service. We've got 18 mobile service vans, to where we're doing 70, 80 appointments a day on that. And we can literally be Aikens anywhere, kind of what I call it.
Wow.
So, those aspects of it, we can promote it for, we can make it more aware, and, be part of something in a community that is so impactful when it comes to family and fellowship. That's how it made sense. Now we can talk hours of all the digital data and all the analytics. I've looked at numbers. How do we do this? But yeah, the reallocation of the funds we put to be the naming right partners on this, to not only in the physical aspect of it, but in the people aspect of it. So we're more excited now than even when we did it, because we can start to see the future now.
Plus, you can see so you want it for free.
Well, not for free. I mean, no, it's not.
It ain't nothing for free.
The name up there isn't free.
Yes, sir. Yes,
so yeah, I can get good seats. I got a pretty good suite over there on the 50-yard line, as I call it.
Sir.
So, but no, we have had it full every event, and every event, whether it's our employees, an organization we've worked with, every concert, every hockey game. I mean, we've had it full every event. And I'm a real big hockey fan now. I can say that. Absolutely. I love it.
Yeah. The hockey game.
Absolutely. We're in. Hey, we'll get the schedule. We're in. Yeah.
Yeah. I had to give out a shout out to Allison. Allison, she is unbelievable.
Yes.
From the day I met her, Mikey's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Allison. But she's
Oh yeah. Allison, my assistant, we'll give her a shout out. I mean, yeah, she keeps she's the glue.
Mm-hmm.
And she keeps everything together. Like I talked to her when I came in here. We've got about 200 employees coming to here tomorrow night to Disney on Ice, and she's a ticket master. So she's been getting these tickets here and there. And I told her, she said, "Yes, I've done my job in between getting all these tickets done." So she has been our ticket master today. But yeah, she's a big fit, and I think there's just so many that when you just look at our employees of the people that's been there for years, the people that we've hired that'll be there, for the years to come. I mean, I'm very blessed, with my wife, my family, and the company family that we've got. I mean, I get to wake up every day, and be involved with such great people, from, the wife I wake up with, kids. I get 8 grandkids. I'm in that category now. Picture that, 8 grandkids.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just an amazing life. It's busy, and I have to make time for us. I don't, I probably can do better there, but it's such a blessing, to wake up every morning.
Yeah.
Well, I think, I think since you got to be back here in 24 hours, we might as well get you wrapped up and get you out of here.
Okay.
So that way you don't have to, we could go another 3 or 4 hours, stay the night, wake up,
So what I was going to say is we appreciate you being here. You have
No, we do.
Well, I appreciate y'all having me here and talking about things we've got going on. We appreciate that. More than wish you success on everything that you all are doing.
Thank you.
That's pretty cool thing y'all are doing as well, bringing spotlights and with people and everything. So we wish you all the best and look forward to working with you all and maybe coming back and sharing some other things in life and in automotive, grandkids. If you have a grandparent special, let me know. I got that going on.
I'm a granddaddy too. I got one and I got another one on the way. So.
Oh, they are. I got to tell people they are better than advertised.
Yeah.
That's the best way I know how to put it. From a marketing perspective, they're better than advertised.
That's what I hear.
The first time I held my granddaughter, it was just like, I understand now. It's just different.
Holding one of your baby's baby, you until you've done it, you don't know how to explain it. But I'm right there with you. It's just there's no words, but. I know where you're at. I know where you're at. Holding your baby's baby, and each one that you hold is just as special as the first time. Every time's a first time all over again. Whether if it's one of your kid's second child, or one of your kid's first child, that's the seventh child, or whatever. Each time is precious. One's not better than the other. And I'm not saying that because of my kids. It's just a reality. It's that wow moment every time, that the creation of life, of something that you're part of. Your kids are really cool, but your kids are cooler.
Well, Bobby wouldn't know because he's young enough to be our grandkid.
There you go. Yeah, I know. Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Well, we'd love to have you. Yeah, we'd love to have you back.
Absolutely.
We got me and Bobby Q. We got a plan to go to these children's hospitals.
Absolutely.
And we want at least once a quarter bring one of these kids on and let them interview somebody.
Absolutely.
I just think that would be so awesome.
Well, anything we can ever help with any of that, we're always reach out. You got Allison. There you go. You're in.
Oh yeah.
You got her. You're in, brother. You're good to go.
Wow, I appreciate.
Well, we appreciate your time.
And hey, thank you. Thank you so much. Good seeing y'all today. Absolutely. Thank y'all both.
I'm gonna trust myself. Oh, I'm gonna love myself. I'm gonna trust